would not be a surprise to anyone to say that Mars has been the obsession of a lot of astronomers, researchers, and especially science fiction writers. This began as early as the late 19th century, when the observation of channel-like features by Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli were misinterpreted and widely published by Percival Lowell as the sign of an intelligent species on the Red Planet. H. G. Wells, Wernher von Braun, Robert Zubrin, and Elon Musk are only some of the noteworthy individuals in the long list of people obsessing over Mars. As a result, Mars features regularly in science fiction, either as a destination for humanity, as the home planet of an alien species, or just as another inhabited planet among many others. However, only very few works of science fiction have gone into such detail when describing the colonization of the Red Planet as Kim Stanley Robinson's Mars Trilogy. The trilogy itself consists of Red Mars, Green Mars, and Blue Mars, as well as some further novels and short stories that technically are set in a very similar yet alternate universe. Today we will focus on the first volume, which was published in 1992 and is roughly 600 pages long. The story is set in the 21st century, from 2026 to 2061 to be precise, and follows the journey of the international crew referred to as the First 100 that comprises the second mission to Mars on the Ares spacecraft. This mission is not just a trip to plant a flag, say some historically relevant words, take some pictures and leave again. The objective of the mission is to establish a permanent presence on the Red Planet. Over the course of the novel, the establishment of the first Martian colonies by the First 100 and subsequently arriving colonists is the main driving story arc. The First 100, consisting of thoroughly trained scientists, engineers and physicians, are tasked with exploring, settling and ultimately terraforming the planet. However, first cracks in this group almost immediately appear over the degree and speed at which terraforming the Red Planet should take place. Two major movements form over this divide. One side, the so-called Reds, want to keep Mars as close to its natural state as possible, whereas the other, the so-called Greens, want to fully terraform Mars into an Earth-like environment. Additional factions form over the question how much influence Earth should retain over Martian affairs, and completely new economic, societal and cultural models are proposed, with varying popular support and success. After all, life on a new planet does not only require new technological solutions. However, these internal struggles are soon overshadowed by the Martian colonies striving increasingly for independence from Earth, which is the cause for rising tensions and ultimately for a dangerous confrontation. Shortly after being published, Red Mars received the BSFA and Nebula Awards for the Best Novel in 1992 and 1993 respectively. It was also nominated for the Locus, Clark and Hugo Awards in 1993. In terms of critical reception, Red Mars is currently rated at 3.86 and 3.85 stars on Goodreads and Library Thing. Similarly, on Amazon it scores 4 stars based on roughly 2,000 ratings. Overall, these are reasonably good ratings, however the trilogy has never achieved a cult status that other sci-fi novels were able to create. Furthermore, while there have been talks of adapting the books into a miniseries, there have not been any specific releases yet. Most project proposals have fizzled out in the recent years. Overall, the scientific soundness of the Mars Trilogy in general and Red Mars in particular is reasonably high, placing it firmly on the hard side of the science fiction Mohs scale. The whole operation of setting up the first stations and larger settlements is described in quite some detail through the eyes of Nadia, one of the Russian engineers. However, everything is kept at a higher level of abstraction than, for example, in the works of Andy Weir. One criticism related to this, though, is that everything happens with barely any technical problems over the course of the novel. Sometimes technical problems are mentioned in half a sentence, and they never seem to be more than a side quest. Furthermore, the longevity treatment as one example that dramatically increases the lifespan is used as a plot device to be able to tell the story over a longer period of time, without having to completely switch the list of characters every couple of decades. This makes a lot of sense from a storytelling perspective, but the societal implications of such a treatment was not really explored that much, which is a missed opportunity in my opinion. One definite strength of Red Mars is its world building. As mentioned earlier, it is depicted in a very detailed fashion, and as a reader you get the feeling that you take part in the founding and development of a completely new civilization, which in a sense is the case. One caveat is that the developments on Earth or other celestial bodies are barely mentioned, if at all. Thus, the overall scope of the world is mostly confined on Mars. While the idea of visiting Earth's neighbor and colonizing the Red Planet predates the Mars Trilogy by decades, it is one of the most detailed depictions of the colonization of the Red Planet, apart from non-fiction books like Robert Zubrin's The Case for Mars, which he published in 1996, 4 years after Red Mars was published. Specifically, the societal, economic and cultural movements that arise from humans establishing a permanent settlement on an alien world are the aspects where Red Mars really shines and has a leg up compared to other more technology-focused books. With nearly 50 named characters, Red Mars boasts an extensive dramatis personae, or in other less pretentious words, the character list is pretty long. As a consequence, most of them are just one-dimensional paper cutouts. However, there are only 6 point-of-view characters and about a dozen main characters. Typically, one of these main characters embodies a certain ideology or viewpoint. The reader experiences the conflicts and tensions between the different ideologies and movements that define the Martian society through the lens of the novel's main characters. One prime example would be the Red movement being represented by geologist Anne Claiborne and the Green movement by biologist Saxifrage Russell. Even their names are representative of their opposition regarding the future of Mars. Other character pairs of this kind are the anarchist revolutionary and the corporate sellout, the idealistic optimist and the Machiavellian cynic, or the cerebral rationalist and the perceptive spiritualist. One drawback of writing the main characters with this approach is the resulting lackluster character developments and arcs. These are, in my view, in combination with some pacing issues, the main reasons that Red Mars and by extension the entire trilogy has not reached the level of excellence that other works have achieved. Nevertheless, Red Mars is a good choice if you are in any way or form interested in reading about the colonization of our celestial neighbor. Its focus on the time span between establishing the first base to a self-sufficient colony fills a gap that other science fiction works usually overlook, opting to depict literally the first steps on Mars or to describe an already established society. Red Mars, with some flaws, offers you both and everything in between.